Welcome back to Tiny Calves, where we're focused on going from never ever completing a triathlon to doing an Ironman in under 4 months. You may have noticed that there was no video last week, but I wanted to take the 4th of July off and also celebrate my 1-year wedding anniversary. We have a really special video here that I want to show, but before we get into it, I want to talk a little bit about mindset and how I prepare for this Ironman race. When preparing for a big race like this, I think it's a big mental achievement if you can complete half of it. For example, if you're preparing for a full-length marathon, 26.2 miles, and you on your practice training run complete a half marathon at 13.1 miles, that'll give you massive amounts of confidence going into that full marathon. If we turn that over to what I'm preparing for right now, for the full Ironman, I want to break it up into sections so it will give me confidence later on in my training. Let's go back real quick to that main pacing slide. I want to show you here that the 3 categories, swimming, cycling, and running. This is for the full Ironman. Now note, these are not the cutoff times. These are my goal times that I'm focusing on completing the Ironman in under 12 hours. As a review, the swim should take around an hour and a half. The cycle should take about 6.5 hours. And the running we'd like to do under 4 hours. If that slide that I just showed you was really confusing, go ahead and watch last week's episode. What I did this past week was I completed a half Ironman. The goal was completion of a half Ironman. Now remember, the Ironman will be taking place in Chattanooga, September 25th. For the half Ironman, I wanted to do 1.2 miles or 44 laps in the pool, 58 miles on the bike, and a half marathon for the run, 13.1 miles. With in mind to complete the full Ironman in under 12 hours, that means this half Ironman needs to be done in less than 6. When we look into the 3 sections of swimming, cycling, and running, it breaks down to approximately 45 minutes in the swim, 3 hours on the bike, and 2 hours on the run. With that being said, let's go ahead and transition to the stats that we were able to complete for this week's half Ironman. You can see in the pool swimming, we did the half Ironman distance and we maintained a 1:43 minute average per 100 yards. The goal pace for the full Ironman is 1 minute and 55 seconds. Moving on to the cycling, this was a beautiful 61-degree day you can see here, and it was sunny with very little wind. It was an absolutely enjoyable ride. We averaged a 17.4 mile an hour average. Our goal for the 116-mile ride in the full Ironman will be 17.8. You can see we're a little bit behind schedule here. Even though we were behind schedule, we were keeping it cool and breezy. We spent most of our time in zone 2. Finally, the half marathon. This was shocking for me because after you do the swim and the bike, you're not too tired, but about halfway through this 13 miles, you feel every muscle in your legs. We'll talk more about that later, but I was able to keep the total time under 2 hours, just barely by 3 seconds, averaging a 9:09 minute pace. So we're right on target right here. When you look at time in the zones, most of the time was spent in zone 3. To bring everything full circle and recap, we did much better on the swim than anticipated with 37 minutes when compared to 45. The bike, you can see on the graph, is in red. It took us a little bit longer. We were about 15 to 20 minutes over the goal target, but for the run, we were spot on right there at 2 hours. I have this new section that I'd like to introduce called the body scan. You can see here in the photo, we might get a little bit into the nitty gritty, but my quadricep muscles on the anterior thighs were absolutely burning. I wanna take a second here. I will to say a couple fancy names, but I will try and tie them all back in the end. When you look at the photo here, I want you to really focus in on the vastus lateralis and the vastus medialis. These two muscles are really important because during running and during cycling, you're going to be activating one more than the other. So during cycling, you're actually activating the inside of your leg more than you are the vastus lateralis. With running, you're keeping your leg straight under your body with activation of that vastus lateralis muscle. So after the cycle, the inside of my legs were absolutely burning, and then I went straight into the bike and destroyed the outside of my legs. So after I was done with the half Ironman, I realized that my quadricep muscles needed some tuning up to do. On the back of the legs lies the tiny calves muscle, also known as the gastrocnemius or the soleus muscle. On these longer distance runs, you're going to be activating your soleus muscle more than you are your gastrocnemius. The soleus muscle has those slow twitch fibers in there, and they're more suitable for endurance aerobic metabolism. I was actually thinking about calling this channel the Tiny Gastrocs. No, I'm just kidding. And then finally, if we go to the gluteal muscles, there's two muscles that are important for running. The main one is the gluteus maximus. The gluteus medius is very important for keeping your hips level when you're running. And then the gluteus maximus is giving you that push when you extend your leg behind you to propel you forward. Well, thank you for entertaining the inner scientist within me and learning about all the different muscles in the body that can be affected by these various training. Aside from the muscles, it is so much more complex, your physiology. When you're training on these hot days, I want to tell you about one thing that has helped me out immensely. I use a product called Element. Element has 1 gram of salt in it, and it also has very little additional additives. There's a bunch of different flavors that you can see up here on the top. And really all you do is you mix this into 32, 24, 16 ounces of water, depending on how salty you want it to be. And then it will power you through all of those hot workouts where you're losing a lot of sweat. The reason why I'm telling you guys about this is because on my Instagram channel, we'll actually be doing a giveaway. For the next 2 weeks, I want you guys to post your fastest mile time and go ahead and tag it on my story on Instagram. And whoever gets the fastest mile time will be getting a variety pack of this Element and can use that for their further training, especially on these hot days when you're drenched in sweat. I look forward to seeing everyone push their limits, really cranking up those mile times to inspire a community here. In the meantime, when you're out there running, just make sure if you ever get tired, keep at it.